Okay, so this video is all about sound frequency healing. And what I'll touch on is what frequencies are and why they're not mystical at all, why they affect your identity big time, how one specific tool I use personalizes all of this to your unique system, and how you can create internal shifts that support your purpose discovery, which I think is super important for everyone right now. So before I dive in, I want to set the vibe for this conversation. The topic we're talking about today might sound a little out there if you've never heard it explained before. Frequencies, identity shifting, consciousness. It can sound pretty woo woo at first, but it's actually super practical. And sound frequencies are my preferred support tool for identity shifting because I know when I'm tackling my subconscious and not having to rely on conscious mind, I find it a little bit more reliable. Because if you're into the whole manifestation principles, you probably know how inhibiting your conscious mind can be when it comes to using willpower to try and overcome your beliefs. Your conscious mind can be a kibosher. So here's why I'm even talking about this, because since grades, I'd say 4, 5, 6, somewhere along there, I noticed my sensitivity, particularly around others' emotions and how it affected behavior. And obviously, how it would ripple out and affect others is something I noticed back then also. It's kind of like that movie, Al Pacino, I think it's called The Devil's Advocate, where this nefarious force would move through the people. Now, I'm not trying to compare apples to apples. I'm just pointing out that I understood at a young age how unseen frequencies, so to speak, in and around us shape how we are. And I grew up being okay with that sensitivity, even though I didn't have a family that understood it. But yet I also didn't get in trouble for being that way, so I was kind of neutral about it. So I experienced it for what it was. Now, as I grew older and trial and errored various identity hats, some hats I hated, others I liked. The ones that irked me was the hats I wanted but couldn't keep on because of my own internal hiccups. Those are the ones that pissed me off, but at the same time intrigued me at the same time. Like one hat I wanted was the version of Bev that had a job I was meant to do, but yet the jobs I had I wasn't feeling the it factors. So I kind of floundered in that for a while until it all clicked. So essentially, the intriguing part to me was the becoming piece, that transformational piece that allowed someone to go from version 1 to version 2, version 3, and so on when the stakes are high, when the emotions are through the roof. And not the feel good kind of emotions. I'm talking about fear, despair, anxiety. And I understand that frequencies and vibration can shape emotions, which will have a cascade effect right to the identity level. I went to school for homeopathic medicine, so I kind of got addicted to energy healing modalities when it wasn't as mainstream as now. And I started to connect the dots that self growth in a mindset kind of way isn't enough to shift identity. It needs to be deeper, dealing with the subconscious, because any identity changes won't stick if it's coming from a mental, I'm going to overpower myself to become ... So this is really relevant right now because consciousness is shifting globally. Old identity patterns that used to feel solid are falling away. People are waking up to the fact that who they thought they were, that identity they've been living, might not actually be who they're meant to be. And some are forced out of that identity through job loss or death in the family or whatnot, loss of a relationship. So for a lot of people, this is showing up as a deep question. What is my actual purpose? What am I really here to do? And here's what I discovered through my own work, through working with others and myself, is that you cannot access your true life purpose while your nervous system is stuck in an old frequency baseline. And that frequency baseline matters, especially right now, especially if you're genuinely seeking clarity on your purpose. Not in a superficial way, but the deep, deep, what is my soul meant to contribute kind. And here's what I know. That kind of discovery requires a couple things. It requires identity shifting, becoming someone who can actually hold that purpose, and it requires consciousness shifting, expanding your awareness to even see the purpose that's available to you and what's holding it back. So a lot of transformational approaches focus on one or the other, I find. They try to do all the work at the mind level, affirmations, mindset work, thinking differently. But the mind is the trickiest part of you because it overthinks, it doubts. If you've read Richard Dott's Manifestation series, you'll know what I mean. If you haven't, highly, highly recommend it. Amazon. So what if there was a way to shift identity that bypassed all of that, like that worked through your nervous system, that can be more passive because you weren't trying to white knuckle it through? Like that was something I've always been interested in. All right, so let's start with the basics. What is a frequency? So if you're listening to this, you probably are interested in that. You probably already know everything vibrates. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body vibrates. The screen you're looking at is vibrating, even though it looks solid. So there's no mystical language. It's just vibration, physics. Now, most of us don't walk around thinking about vibration. It's not like we're walking around, ooh, that glass door is vibrating. Ooh, this phone is vibrating. Like, although most of us are right now. We're thinking about because we're too busy thinking about our to-do list or what we're going to eat for dinner. But on a foundational level, everything is in a state of constant vibration. And then that vibration creates a frequency, and then that frequency is measurable. Scientists can measure it. It's a thing. You can go on YouTube and all of the manifestation focused videos will go on about everything is vibration. But I want to talk about sound. Now, sound is just one form of frequency that we can actually perceive and feel. So when you think about music for a second, you don't have to understand music theory to feel the impact of a song. You hear a particular song, and within seconds, without even thinking about it, your mood shifts. Now, I'm a fan of like Hans Zimmer or Ludovico Einaudi, and if you are, you'll know what I mean by like being moved to tears. And why does that happen? Because your nervous system doesn't analyze music. It doesn't think about it. It just responds to the vibration automatically. So that's the power of frequency. People can feel it. Even if they can't explain it or analyze it, your system just responds. Now, there's a whole dark side to frequencies being used for nefarious reasons. That's a rabbit hole I won't get to, but the fact is frequencies can affect emotions, thoughts, and matter. Common example, imagine two tuning forks. You strike one, it starts vibrating at a particular frequency. Now, without touching the second tuning fork, the second one starts vibrating at the exact same frequency. So, aka resonance, the vibration of one causes the other to vibrate in harmony, and your system works the same way. So when you're exposed to a particular frequency through sound, through rhythm, through vibration, your body and your nervous system, they don't have to try to match it. They just naturally attune to that frequency. Okay? Entrainment. So you don't have to believe in it. You don't have to understand it. You just listen and your system resonates with it naturally. Just like when you're exposed to people who carry high frequency, you'll feel it. So either you get uncomfortable or you just want to be near them without knowing why. So here's where identity comes in. Identity isn't just what you think about yourself. Sure, we have multidimensional identities, but for the purpose of keeping it linear for now, identity is a pattern. It's a pattern of emotional states, mental patterns, and nervous system responses. And when you have a particular identity, let's say you identify as someone who's anxious or someone who's creative or someone who's stuck, that identity is actually being held by a particular frequency baseline in your nervous system. So it's like your nervous system is tuned to a particular radio station. And then from that radio station, you get a particular broadcast of reality, and then you interpret everything through that frequency. So to shift your identity, you often need to shift the frequency first. You can't just think your way into a new identity when your nervous system is still vibrating at the old frequency, because that signal doesn't come through. So when you shift the frequency baseline, when you adjust your nervous system to a new vibration, then the new identity becomes possible, probably natural. But the hard part of the process is the mind letting go of the old frequency because it's familiar, and our minds sometimes prefer the familiar but more anxious way of being. Yeah, been there plenty of times. So let's talk about why sound frequencies actually work biologically. So if your nervous system is rhythmic, your breath is rhythmic, your heartbeat is rhythmic, your brain waves are rhythmic, everything in your body operates in patterns of rhythm and vibration. But here's the thing, sound is rhythm and vibration. So when you're exposed to sound frequencies, you're speaking the language that your nervous system understands natively. So it's working with the way your body understands. And sound influences these rhythms, your breath, your heartbeat, your brain waves, without efforting, almost without your awareness, actually. So why I love sound is it doesn't require conscious effort to influence your state. You know, you're not bucking up with your mind that's telling you can't do it or what's the point and yada, yada, yada. Because your mind is always analyzing, judging, deciding, is this real? Do I believe in it? Am I doing it right? Like, it's exhausting. Your mind overthinks everything. Now, your subconscious doesn't argue with frequency. It doesn't question it. It doesn't analyze it. It just responds. So that's why shifts that happen through sound feel natural and effortless. You're not trying to think your way into a new belief. You're working at a level that's beneath the thinking mind. It's beneath an intellectual mind. So as Richard Dotz would emphasize, you cannot manifest at the level of mind. It may work temporarily, but it wears off, I find anyways. So yeah, many people, they try to shift their identity at the mind level. So affirmations as a standalone, visualizations as a standalone, they're all working at the thought level, which is highly reliant on the control your mind has on you. One day it'll be your friend. The other day is telling you it doesn't want to be your friend because, I don't know, he scared it somehow. So identity doesn't live at the thought level. It lives in your nervous system. And then your thoughts are heavily influenced by your nervous system state. And the thing is, emotional patterns and identity patterns are stored much deeper than thought. And the conscious mind can't always access those deeper patterns. And even if it can, trying to think your way past the nervous system pattern is like trying to solve a biological problem with a philosophical argument. It just doesn't work long term. That's why people do all this identity work, and then a few months later, they fall back into the old pattern because the foundation, the nervous system baseline, never shifted. So the old identity keeps pulling them back. So when you work with frequency, you're working at the right level. You're working where identity is held. My POV anyways. So types of frequencies. I mean, there are a lot of different types of frequencies out there. So I just want to map the landscape first so you understand a little bit when you see it on YouTube or elsewhere. So we have the simple acoustic tone category. So these are the foundational building blocks. You got the single tones, like, I don't know, for 32 hertz, just one frequency continuously. You have the sweeps, so it's a range of frequencies like 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, moving through that whole spectrum of sound most people can hear. We got binaural beats. This one requires headphones because two slightly different frequencies are played in each ear, and then your brain perceives a third frequency in between. And that creates like an effect on brain waves, which affects relaxation, focus, mood, meditation states, whatnot. There's isochronic tones, so these are pulsing beats at a particular frequency, kind of like a rhythmic tone on, tone off pattern, also affects mental states. And these all work because they interact directly with the nervous system and brain rhythms. Now, you also have the brain wave rhythmic states. Then you have, so under that, you have brainwave frequencies, which come from EEG measurements. So they describe states, not traits. So you got the delta, correlated with deep sleep, theta, correlated with creativity, deep meditation. You got alpha, correlated with relaxed alertness, learning. You got beta, correlated with focused thinking, problem solving. You got gamma, high level, good for high level insight, integration. And then these can be broken down more, like you got high alpha, low alpha, whatnot. But binaural beats and isochronic tones are often designed to support these states through entrainment. Then you got like the spiritual, I guess, energetic categories, and I would put solfeggio in here, Schumann resonance, Rife, Grabavoy. All right, so solfeggio, these are ancient healing frequencies that were apparently used in Gregorian chants. So each frequency corresponds to different healing properties, like 528 hertz is called love frequency, associated with transformational support, so much more. I don't want to like make any claims here, so you can research that. You got the Schumann resonance. This is the Earth's natural electromagnetic resonance around 7.83 hertz. So listening to this frequency is experienced as grounding and aligns you with the Earth's natural rhythm. You got the Rife frequencies, named after Dr. Royal Rife. He discovered these specific frequencies, and he found that it could support the body's own processes. You got some interesting case studies if you want to look into that. And then you got the Grabavoy numerical codes. And these are numerical sequences that are believed to carry consciousness codes for healing and activation. Now, the main thing is that different frequencies create different states in your nervous system, and these different states then create different emotional and mental patterns. And then those different thoughts and behaviors become your identity. So yes, frequency equals new state equals new identity expression. One thing to be aware of, and in my experience, is the thing that causes discomfort and some fear is as I'm shifting from, say, BEV version 1 to BEV version 2, and right in midstream and in between that is like the letting go of certain habits, especially if the mind still kind of has a hold on the meaning you put behind that habit. Will be like you may experience like, do I really want to let this go? Or on feeling despair because your safety net is ripping away, and all this, and your ego is talking like it doesn't want to let it go, right? It doesn't have that control. And then for me, I just sit with that emotion because I'm aware of, well, that's what's happening. I don't force myself to stop the discomfort or avoid it. So I just let it run through me while being gentle with self and knowing that it's normal for things or situations to change while I'm going through becoming shift. Well, I'm sure when I get to BEV version 10, I can look back and wonder what the heck all that fuss is about. Because when you shift from version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a lot. You'll be going through a lot. Your desires will change. Your priorities will change. Sometimes you want something, but it can't happen simultaneously with another thing you've been holding on to, right? So say you got a group of friends, version of you, love that company. Version 2 of you might start to feel disinterest towards that company, and out of habit, you may just stick around while feeling that discomfort. And eventually, as you continue your becoming and shifting, and if that company is not in alignment with him, that relationship will grow apart. And it's going to be uncomfortable. You may wonder what's going on. But underneath it all is that. Now, some may feel bad about it. And if they're not aware that a really important shift is happening, they may very well force themselves to continue that friendship relationship. But the pain of tolerating it increases it until you let it go. Welcome, version 3. So one of the main tools that I use for working with sound frequencies is the Genius Insight app. And it stands out to me because it combines biofeedback and bioresonance, which allows it to work with your system as it is at the moment, not as a generic average, if that makes sense. Here, let me go here. So sure, I use other tools. I also like an app called Quantum Frequency Technology for different uses, but it's still sound frequencies. But Genius Insight, I like for its ability to scan my current state via voice analysis. And your voice carries information about your nervous system, your stress load, your internal patterns. So instead of guessing, the frequencies are generated in response to you. And it uses some unique frequency structures that are designed to help you with your individual system. So they have like layered frequency structures. So where there's multiple frequencies layered on top of each other to create a more complex healing effect. They have sonic signature encoding, where your vocal imprint informs the frequencies, making them specific to your biofield. What they have too, which is super interesting, I use this regularly, is the archetype encoding, where words, intentions, or concepts are translated into harmonic structures rather than just being mentally repeated. So this is a kick-ass tool for converting affirmation text into sound frequency. So now you're, instead of, saying affirmations through the conscious mind, it's being converted into a frequency, so it gets right to your subconscious. So yeah, I like the personal tongue twister. I like the personalization of it. Now, you may be thinking, couldn't I just listen to generic meditation on YouTube or a Spotify playlist of healing frequencies? Yeah, I do it still. But the difference is generic playlists are one size fits all. So some meditation app is some thought. Some meditations is basically guessing what you might need, right? So they don't know your system. They don't know what your specific stresses are. So they don't know where your imbalances are. So Genius is customized to your biofield at the moment, which is going to change tomorrow because we're fluid. So, the difference is like taking a multivitamin that has a generic blend of nutrients for, general health. Still good. Versus taking a targeted supplement protocol designed for your specific blood work or your body's unique needs. So one is generic, one is personalized. And to me, that matters because, well, when you're working with something as individual as identity and as unique as your nervous system, you want something that can meet you there. Don't get me wrong. I still do love tuning into, those ASMR Reiki YouTube channels. Yeah, I do subscribe to a few of those. I do like that. But yeah, Genius Insight supports your alignment with those customized frequencies, and it'll help shift your nervous system baseline over time. Cool. Yeah, and that's the missing link for embodiment. Like, that technology bridges the gap between knowing your purpose and being able to live it by helping your nervous system and energy field adapt to your evolved identity. You know what I mean? So, if you're interested in learning more about the Genius app, feel free to reach out and connect with me. I'll definitely show you around. Now, I also combine this work with numerology because if you can hone in on your innate tripwires, right, the things that hold you back, which numerology can pinpoint with accuracy, plus the clarity on your purpose. Now you have both ends of the spectrum. On one end, you have your tripwires, unconscious or maybe conscious habits that stop you from evolving. And then also on the other end, your life purpose, your full potential. The middle part is all about becoming. And purpose isn't something the conscious mind figures out by thinking harder, right? Even if someone told you exactly what your purpose was, you'd still have to be regulated enough to believe it, to hold it, and to live it. Trust me, going through it right now. Okay, so why sound makes identity shifts as effortless as possible. Now, using sound frequencies is a daily thing for me. I run it in the background while I work. I do house chores because I'm not going to white knuckle my way into a new belief. Hasn't worked in the past. I prefer to just like flow into it, allowing myself to feel the birthing pains, which decreases in intensity, by the way, the more you are aware of the process. Like my sensitive nature works in my favor big time here. And the subtle shifts will compound into consistent new identity, and it'll feel natural because it is natural. The discomfort pain is primarily, if not all, the ego kicking and screaming from loss of control and familiarity. And that's what makes sound frequencies so powerful for identity shifting, especially for discovering your life purpose and trying to embody the vibration that's needed for that. Because purpose doesn't come from your thinking mind. I'm going to keep repeating that. It comes from a deeper alignment, from your nervous system being in tune with something true. Okay, now I want to address a point of view that underestimates identity shifting. Some people will say things like, well, your real identity is that you're a spiritual being having a human experience, or your source, your consciousness, this body is just an avatar. None of this is real. We're in a matrix. So what's the point of putting all this effort in a simulation? I get it. I understand those layers, all of it. But my thought is also you can't bypass the physical avatar and expect to live a grounded, aligned, practical life. Like you're here in this body, in this nervous system, in this reality. And if you want to actually live your purpose, not just tongue twister, philosophize about it, but live it, then yeah, you have to work with the vehicle you're in at this moment, right? Your identity is this lifetime in this body, and based on the frequency you can hold in your nervous system. And when you shift your entire life from a place of alignment, that's when you can express your purpose in this physical reality. Sure, you can know your source all day. Nothing wrong with that. It's great. Ironically, your nervous system can still be stuck in survival mode if your frequency baseline is still fear. You're not going to be able to embody that truth in a practical way anyways. So the work is doing both, knowing the multidimensional truths and shifting the physical vehicle so you can actually live it. I want to address something else that can easily be underestimated is this is all about energy healing techniques and practices, and I think it's worth being honest about this. As I mentioned, I was addicted to exploring this world. I still do advocate for it, but the piece to be mindful about is having discernment on the practitioner and facilitator, because they're not all created equal. A lot of energy practices out there involve mixing your energy field with somebody else's energy. Healers, practitioners, ritual leaders, group ceremonies, someone facilitating a healing process for you. So just know that when you're working with another person's energy field, you're not just receiving healing, you're also receiving them, their patterns, their beliefs, their unconscious stuff, their energetic signature. It's like an energetic entanglement. But the flip side is if a facilitator has really done their work, if they've cleared their own patterns, integrated their shadows, or are operating from genuine service, and their frequency can actually pull, in those cases, their frequency can pull you up. because their centeredness becomes your anchor. So it's like standing next to someone who's deeply peaceful. Their calm becomes your calm. Their clarity becomes your clarity, and their alignment becomes a frequency you can match it, or attempt to, anyways. So in that case, working with them accelerates your transformation because you're literally in training to a higher frequency. So that's a difference between a facilitator who's still working through their stuff versus one who's actually integrated. One drains you and then one uplifts you. And the thing is knowing the difference. So that requires discernment on your part. Just another shameless plug. Genius Insight technology removes that variable entirely. There's no energetic entanglement, just you, your voice, and personalized frequencies that your system responds to. Now, a truly evolved facilitator working with Genius, that's a powerful combination. All right, now, another note on emotional entanglement. What happens there is distortion. So your own signal gets mixed with theirs. You don't get a clean read on what your system actually needs. And then there's that dependency thing. So you start relying on that person's energy, their presence, their facilitation. And without them, you don't feel held or supported, which is the opposite of empowered. You're becoming more dependent. You know what I mean? And I said their emotional state affects you. So if they're having a bad day, you may feel it. They're dealing with their own stuff too. You may absorb it. And then with that now comes, there could be inconsistent results because the effectiveness of the healing depends on the practitioner's state. Obviously, their skill level, their vibe on that particular day, which means results can be unpredictable. You might have a great session and then a mediocre one, and it's all dependent on like various factors. And underneath all of this is that subtle message. Oh, you can't heal yourself. Oh, you need someone else to do it for you, which isn't true. So how do you apply all these sound frequencies? So if you're someone who's deeply committed, self-aware, ready to not just know your purpose, but actually walk it, and you want to build a business as an extension of that purpose, I do offer high-touch one-on-one work. And this is where I decode your unique energetic system through, well, business numerology. Using your birth date, I map out your energetic blueprint, your nervous system tripwires, your life purpose, and the business structure that's a natural fit for your system. Not what the trends are out there, so to speak, but what your energy is actually designed for. And then we'll facilitate Genius Insight sessions to support your becoming. So you're getting clarity, you're getting the energetic support to embody it. So this is for the person who's ready, who wants to know their purpose and live it, who's committed to building something aligned from the ground up. Now, if you're not interested in the business piece, but you want to know and live your life purpose, I also offer a version of this work without the business mentorship. Same numerology decoding, same genius frequency work, just focused on life purpose clarity, nothing business. And if you're earlier in the journey, maybe you're just exploring, you're curious, you want some support, but you're not ready for high touch work yet, I do have a community inside school. You get access to some custom GPTs that I made that reflect birth chart modalities to help you gain some life purpose. On your own, you'll also receive some sound frequencies, but it won't be as customized as the one-on-one work. So it's a way to explore, get support, see what resonates before going deeper. And if you'd like to have your own frequency generator using Genius Insight, something that you can work with independently, you can contact me to get more information. So here's why all of this works together. We're just going to wrap up here. Why I'm in love with combining birth charts and sound frequencies is, yes, you get clarity with the birth charts, but it's not enough. You still need to move through the becoming journey, and that's where the frequencies come in. Genius frequencies support you as you integrate the shifts, as you move through the tripwires. Because stepping into a new identity that your purpose requires is not easy. So to me, it's a pretty genius combination, if I do say so myself. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're ready to go all in or you're just starting to explore, there's a way for us to work together. Now you can find all the details in the description below, links to the community, links to book a call if you want to explore the one-on-one work. And I just invite you to reflect, like, what resonated, what felt true with everything I've said. Trust that. So I want to thank you for being here, for being curious, for being open to something that might sound a little different. That openness is everything, and that willingness to explore new approaches. And that's what creates real transformation. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you.